Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming. My name is Olo and today I'm happy to be making a video once again about Blue Protocol. We've covered this upcoming MMORPG many times here, talking about many updates such as the classes and combat overhauls, or important information like release dates and when the game is coming to the West. This time we have a short update from the dev team to do with the story and main characters, with new information that sets up the world in prep for launch. But something that has regularly come up in these videos is the simple but important question: what is this game? People seem to discover the game for the first time as I talk about the new class that was just added and how it works. So it seemed like it was a good time to give you a fresh rundown of what this game even is and why we're excited for it, and the important information for someone interested in playing it. But let's first start with the new information. Very recently, the Blue Protocol Twitter account has been very active, updating us in a lead up to their official opening theme. Lots of characters featured in the game's main story and details about each, alongside new images. Characters like Fest, Aerins, Tyrus, and Jake, who we've seen before in the cinematics and in fact the main story when playing the original beta. Now it's good to have some actual details about these characters for me, since when I was playing through the game in the beta, I had no idea what was happening. It was all in Japanese. More importantly though, we now have 6 new characters and information about them just to look at. Firstly, Carvain, a warrior that we will meet in our journeys. He's an honest, justice-driven man who apparently can be a little careless. And then we have Charlotte, an apparent up-and-coming traveling diva. Sounds like a sort of K-pop star in this universe or something. Either way, she's bright and cheerful and very self-confident, which can apparently make her a bit reckless. Dunkirk, the leader of the Knights of Bernhard, known as literally the strongest man. He's earned the respect and even admiration of many around the world. Basically, this dude's strong as hell. We have Veronica, the vice commander of those knights, who, through her calm and composed judgment, aids Dunkirk. And then 2 characters we have actually seen before in game cinematics or maybe the main trailers. We have Merloof, the mysterious boy who appeared from nowhere. Literally, in the story, he just appeared and everyone was as confused as I was. We have no idea what this guy's intentions are, but he seems to know something we don't. And finally, the big boy, the badass, Voldigen, or Validigen, I guess. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. The Dragon King of the Dragon Clan. He's said to wield overwhelming power, and essentially he's in our way as he aims to kill Aerins. Aerins being a known character and a mysterious woman who seems to come from the future here on an important mission. Either way, it's very nice to have this added context to these characters, but most of all Validigen, finally knowing who he even is since he looks so cool in the trailers. It's some fun detail and very appreciated while we continue our long wait for more Blue Protocol news. Importantly though, with these posts came another call to action from the dev team, as they are now recruiting yet again even more people to their now quite large team. Game designers, battle designers, a project manager, and importantly, a localization director. That localization director interests us because this position is said to stand between overseas publishers and large project development teams for the smooth communication between overseas version development. Yep, development for Blue Protocol in regions other than Japan. It is not fresh news, or even the first time we've seen them do this. We know they're planning to bring the game to the West, and this is more follow-up on that, highlighting the fact that they are already working on it. Awesome news anyway, and hopefully they find someone good soon. But now, for those of you wondering what this game actually is, and maybe saw one of my other videos on it, let's talk about Blue Protocol on a more big picture. What is this game? Why do I have high hopes for it? And important information to know from there. Simply put, Blue Protocol is the upcoming MMORPG from Bandai Namco, who often bring great Japanese games to the West. The Project Sky Blue team are the ones developing this under Bandai, and as you can see, it is a very anime-style game with its cel-shaded graphics. It's all driven by its world and story and your part in it. They aim to provide satisfying, flashy action combat that uses both magic and might to overcome your enemies. We have 5 main classes planned for launch, with others coming later. We have the Aegis Fighter, the Twin Striker, the Blast Archer, the Spellcaster, and the new Heavy Smasher. Each of these classes are designed for unique playstyles with their own abilities and specializations, which will actually allow you to further customize and change your approach to combat. Essentially, we're talking about an upcoming MMO that has really cool combat, cool classes, a very bright and colourful world to explore, its dedicated story, a PvE focus, and it's all anime-esque visuals. It may even remind you of the early days of Sword Art Online, which I really like as a comparison. Unfortunately though, the game is originally releasing in Japan, but is set to release in the West after its original launch. Let's briefly outline the story and setting then. This land is referred to as the Paradise the Gods Have Forgotten. The planet known as Regnus was once ruled by a tribe who used mystic light. Millennia later though, only ruins of that remain, filled with treasures and apparently a terrible secret. We begin our journey in this former paradise and aim to uncover the truth behind it. Basically, beings we might consider gods lived on this planet. Something happened to them, and for better or worse, we're going to find out what. Now, as I quickly mentioned, the game is launching with 5 classes. The newest and not actually originally planned for launch was the awesome looking Heavy Smasher. It's a futuristic hammer user who uses this hammer to shoot, launch and crush foes. We actually recently broke this down in a video, so go check that out. But for the other classes, we have the fighter, who is using your sword and board style, zipping around combat, blocking and parrying attacks, exposing weaknesses of enemies, and protecting their allies at the same time. There's the fast-paced twin striker, who uses 2 axes for a fiery combination of attacks, sacrificing their own safety and often health from melee DPS. Uniquely, this class fights using lifesteal effects to stay alive. We have our ranger of Blue Protocol, which is the blast archer, making use of both magic and arrows to support allies, controlling the enemy with slows, or maybe even a literal black hole. Then lastly, the spellcaster, who fills the mage role, with some incredible magic abilities like fire, ice and lightning, even teleportation and devastating meteor summons. The classes themselves seem to be carefully considered though. They each fulfill an important role and feel very unique from one another. Each has a big talent tree that they can use to adapt all of their abilities and add new effects for different purposes. But combat wise, Blue Protocol has changed a lot throughout its development. In the beta, things felt good but a little bit repetitive and simple. Since then, every class has had a major overhaul with new additions and various stages of improvements. The early fighter was quite static and simple. I was playing around with it in the beta using a 3-hit combo and weaving abilities, every now and then slamming with my ultimate, blocking or parrying and dealing bonus damage. These days though, we see the new fighter is super mobile, rewarded for perfectly timed evasions, multiple versions of its damage or self-buffing AoE, entirely new abilities like that AoE snare, the new hate system for aggro mechanics, and momentum and terrain actually applying to melee combat with a new plunge attacks. This is an entirely new class from the one that I played, and this has happened for all of them. There's also a really important part of Blue Protocol that I really should mention. These are the imajinn, the summoned magic creatures of this world that you will fight and overcome and then learn to summon to fight by you. They come in many types. There's supportive healers or buffers, there's tanky damage takers, fiery AoEers, big units that are going to smash your foe in one hit and so on. They're all summoned briefly to serve a direct purpose and then they go away, giving you the ability to choose utility to bring with you. But either way, you're going to first need to defeat the imajinn and then learn to summon them yourself. Kind of like collect them all Pokemon style. Now moving on to the world itself, as an MMO, this is a large game with a lot of players inside it at any one time. In the beta, we were playing in one huge region to explore, which was also sectioned into large areas that were all connected. This is just like how Final Fantasy XIV does it, if you've played that one. There was a village out in the world and a main city to call home, but since then we've seen a new desert region revealed with a new city, new areas, lots of new enemies. We know there's an ice-themed region coming, and we've even seen hints of a futuristic military area that we know very little about. I also mentioned earlier that this game has a PvE focus. That's because currently there isn't any PvP in Blue Protocol. Originally I was disappointed by that fact, and you might be too, but I actually agree with it now. The devs explained that their vision for the game is that of a classic PvE RPG, fighting many enemies or big bosses in a PvE environment. They know what that will look like. They feel strongly about it. They want to make that game. So instead of forcing themselves to slap a poorly thought out PvP system that maybe doesn't fit their vision, so many MMOs have trash PvP attached to them, forgotten and ignored or completely unbalanced. So why waste the dev time on something that the devs themselves aren't interested in? I will say though, there are some PvP-esque stuff in the game, like the arena. In that you face waves of enemies that get harder and harder to deal with, and your efficiency at dealing with these battles is scored. So for a leaderboard system, players can try to best your score, and that's just one example of a technical form of PvP we will see. So there's some of the core aspects to Blue Protocol. If you'd like to learn more, check out my other videos covering the game and its various progressions, but I do suggest my video covering the beta itself. Back when I played it, I gave a detailed overview of my impressions, explaining many aspects of the game at the time and also what I thought about it. Since then though, the game has massively improved through the feedback they've received, so keep that in mind. But I think this is a great dev team. The way they addressed the feedback from that beta was brilliant. The game has come so far since then. You may also be wondering, how is this game going to be monetized? Well, Blue Protocol is a free-to-play game that will have cosmetic microtransactions that will not affect gameplay in any way, and they've also suggested possible season pass systems as another form of monetization. Okay, so when can we play it? Unfortunately, as I said, this is having a Japanese launch first. You could go ahead and play that version of the game with, say, a VPN, but it won't be until later that the game comes to the West. Officially, the game is coming to the West and a global launch is happening, but we do not have a date or timeline for that. I believe that post-Japanese launch, we will begin to see a lot of news about the Western launch, and that process will of course take time. However, they are already working on it. They've stated from the start that that is their goal, and Bandai Namco are very experienced at bringing games to the West. Maybe you're wondering when the game is actually launching in Japan though. It is still officially slated for late 2021, but with no pre-launch beta currently announced, I am starting to wonder if we're going to see a release in 2022 instead. Finally then, a big question we see on these videos is this. Is this game coming to console? Unfortunately, there is not official information on this topic as far as I'm aware. However, I want to give you a bit of hope if you're hoping for that. I've literally played this game with a controller already. That first beta they did had full gamepad support already implemented, and it worked great. So in my opinion, they did that for a reason, right? They want the game to be playable with a controller. More and more MMOs are playable on console these days, the biggest example being Final Fantasy XIV. There is a huge market for it, and they must know that. So considering the fact they already have the game working in a way that would work for controller, and literally did, I imagine console release is very possible, and hopefully will happen. Anyway, those are some main details about Blue Protocol and some recent updates from the team. I am a huge fan of this game, and I have very high hopes for it. I hope I've answered the important questions you might have had, but if not, ask it in the comments. I'll try my best to answer what I can. Until next time though, I've been Hollow, you've been you, thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.